We're now live, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my decision day as the Executive Member for Highways and Passenger Transport. This decision day is being broadcast live on YouTube via the County Council website. I'd like to welcome a few members, particularly Councillor McAtter on this call, and also Councillor Fran Carpenter, who was asked to speak on items 3 and 4 of today's agenda. I think without further ado, I have no deputations today, so we can head straight into the first item on the agenda, if we may. This is Community Transport Connect Services. Sorry, is that the first item? Beg your pardon. Community Transport Connect Services Spend and Award. And Patrick, if you'd like to introduce this item.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Good morning, everybody. Just to make you aware, Councillor Bowman, we are not putting forward the recommendations in the paper for Barton-on-Sea, the traffic order consultation responses at today's D-Day. And this really is to allow officers more time to look at the business case, and we'll be bringing this back in due course. But I just wanted to make you aware at the start of the meeting before the papers. So if I move to the first paper then. So the first paper is the Community Transport Connect Services Spend and Award. It seeks approval to spend and award contracts for the Community Transport Connect services in Hampshire. And you'll recall, Councillor Bowman, that this is the revised approach that we took following the feedback from the consultation last year, which was approved by Cabinet in October. And this is in essence commissioning community transport and school transport together. Now, there's quite a lot of detail in the paper, but the outcome of the tenders that we see has been positive, and it's really allowed some of the impacts on the previous proposals to be mitigated with this combined approach. I wasn't planning to do a page turn of the paper because I think everybody's read the paper in the detail, but I've got colleagues with me if we need to answer any questions, but happy to pick up any questions, but that's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor McAtter, as the councillor in attendance, would you like to ask any questions about this particular item?
Actually, I've only got one particular question. I'm looking at item 65 about the services need to be monitored. Can you just talk a little bit? This is just an interest for the scrutiny committee about how we're going to monitor how well this works. Can you just talk a little bit about how you imagine we're going to monitor this programme?
Okay.
Patrick, would you like to come back in?
Of course. Thank you, Councillor McAtter. So you recall from the discussions last year where we were talking about these proposals and taking them forward that it is quite a new approach, quite a novel approach, because the original proposals were about taking out many of the services. But what we decided to do is if we procured them with the school transport and the community services as well, to make sure we get the best use of both the buses and what have you that we have and the transportation that we have, it would be far more efficient to be able to use it for school transport in the morning and the evening and for the communities in the day. So we'll be monitoring through that way. What I will do in terms of the detail is I'm going to hand over to one of my officer colleagues who will be able to talk through that because they will know specifically based upon the responses from the tender. So I'm joined with Sarah Bennett and I've got Andrew Wilson. So Sarah, is it possible to talk to Councillor McAtter about how the performance will be managed, please?
Absolutely. We're in the process of implementing new kind of more modern, better software on the services anyway. So we're supporting the operators to implement that right now. And so the plan is we know what the uptake on the services are historically. We know what they are at the moment. And so, going forward, once we implement the new services from September, we'll be able to closely monitor them using the new software to see, if there's been patronage drop off and kind of what the busy times are. And hopefully how we've managed to mitigate and keep as much of the residual service users maintaining use of the service.
Thank you, Sarah. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, it does. And I'm hoping we're going to publish it because I think this is a really, as we talked about before, it's a fantastic thing for the council to be doing, moving from what we used to this new service. And I think the more that we can explain to residents what we're doing and how successful it is, I think that's really in all our interest. So that's what I was really interested in. It's not just the information, but how we get that information out to the users and potential users about Hampshire County Council doing things in a slightly different way. That was what I was interested in.
Okay, and if I may, Councillor Bowman, we will be keeping a really close eye on that because it is a new approach. So it's absolutely right that we monitor it and we see where we can improve it. And what we can also do is perhaps bring back an update at some point to whether it's the select committee or just general member updates. So very happy to do that.
Thank you.
And if I can just say thank you very much, Councillor McAtter, for those positive comments. And we had a very interesting meeting, an enhanced partnership meeting yesterday, where we were talking about exactly this, about how we publicise, how we get the messaging out across the county to all residents, so we can, obviously let people know, about these great services that are coming forward. So I'll pass over to Andrew at this point, but thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Yeah, just to say that every year we have a duty to provide an annual report on our BSIP to the DFT, and that is published on our website. So that's the ideal opportunity to cover that, Councillor McAtter. That the mechanism's already there, so we can by all means incorporate all that data on the performance within the annual BSIP report.
Thank you. Thank you. If I may, at this point, just say good morning to Councillor Wallace. I believe he's joined us this morning.
Yes, thank you. So,
thank you.
Late, I think.
That's all right. Sorry, we were very punctual this morning. Would you like to come in at this point and ask any questions, Councillor Wallace?
Just one comment. We obviously had a pre-brief of this yesterday, and the team, the officers were great at answering our questions on this. I think one concern I had was about that some of the Connect services have traditionally been more focused in the cities, and it's been a bit harder for our rural residents to access the Connect services. But the answer I was given yesterday was that there is some modification of the Connect services that is being done to enable it to be more accessible to a wider range of our residents. So that I think that's correct, isn't it, Patrick?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good to hear.
Thank you. That's great. Andrew, would you like to add any comment to that? Because it's a very good point. We are concerned about any rural communities, for example, being isolated with, not the best service, shall we say. So it's how we can help support those communities with transport.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, Councillor Bowman, that you'll be aware that as part of the bus service improvement plan programme for 25-26, we're aiming to offer a challenge fund to local communities and to existing community transport operators to either expand their operations or help them to establish their own local transport services, typically with minibuses. So we expect that by the autumn we will have gone out to local communities, parish councils, town councils, for them to express an interest in some of that pump priming money that we'll have to offer. And we're aiming that there will be some capital money that may well help towards vehicle purchase, and there will be some revenue money that will help them to either expand their existing services or set up new services. So that's something positive that we're using the BSIP money for, to help mitigate what Councillor Wallace was just talking about.
Yes, it's an extensive piece of work, this, so, and very much ongoing, isn't it? So yeah, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it. Thank you very much. I don't think there's anyone else I can ask to ask questions or make a comment this morning on this particular item. So I'm going to go forward with the recommendations in paragraphs 3 to 7 on pages 5 to 6. And I would just like to say, having been in the recent meetings regarding these services, I know how much hard work is going into research and putting these things in place by the team, and to ensure the level of transport service will be maintained for older and disabled residents, whilst also providing school transport in 5 of the 11 Connect service tenders, particularly on the most appropriate send routes. So I applaud this new approach and hope we can increase the number of combined services in the future and the possible savings on the school transport budget for the County Council. And I'm sure the new scheduling software will maximise the number of passenger trips with efficiencies on journey combinations and scheduling. So thank you to everyone concerned, and I am happy to approve these proposals. Thank you. So to move on to item 2, the various county-wide retendering of local bus contracts, pages 21 to 28. Patrick, may I ask you to introduce this item, please?
Of course, thank you, Councillor Bowman. So you're right, this is the various county-wide retendering of local bus contracts. So what we're doing is seeking approval from you to spend and enter into contractual arrangements for 23 local bus services. Again, as per the previous paper, this incorporates the revised approach, which is about retaining passenger transport services where there is a clear link to school transport, very similar to the previous paper. What you will see in this paper also is where we've been able to use BSIP funding to cover some of the high bus industry inflation, really secure those services. And I know that there are quite strict requirements on BSIP, but we're able to use a proportion of the BSIP to cover that the cost within the bus industry, and therefore get more for our money in terms of securing services. So again, largely it's a positive outcome from what we've been tendering. There's a lot of detail in the paper again, and likewise, we're very happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Coming to you, if I may, first, Councillor McAtter. Rob?
No, I've got no comments on this. This is a very straightforward retendering, so thank you for that.
Yes. Councillor Wallace, would you like to ask any?
Yeah, just agree. This is the retendering all makes sense. Obviously, you know, we've as a council, as an area, we have a long way to go in improving our buses, and this is a small part, but yeah, this is I support this paper for what it's doing, but it shouldn't hide the fact we've got a lot more to do on buses, and I look forward to more happening on this as going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. And if I may reassure you, it is a piece of work that is ongoing. So hopefully we'll bringing back some more good news in the future. So I'm very happy to support this, and I am pleased that once again to be able to thank the officers for their hard work on this particular item. It's really good to see competitive tendering has taken place for the provision of these passenger transport services across the county. That will ensure the best value for money, while obviously incorporating the school transport routes where possible. So I welcome this new approach, and that the services will remain at the same level as well. So I'm happy to approve this proposal, and the recommendations are paragraphs 2 to 3 on page 21. Thank you. So moving forward, on item 3, we have the Keyhaven traffic order consultation responses. And if I can invite Councillor Carpenter, Fran Carpenter, if she would like to speak on this item. And here she is. Thank you, Fran.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. That's nice to speak to you this morning.
And you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the County Councillor for Keyhaven and Milford-on-Sea. During COVID, the number of camper vans visiting Keyhaven increased hugely and has remained high. This has caused concern amongst local people because, firstly, they're unable to find parking spaces themselves for recreational purposes, and secondly, because this tranquil area is definitely being spoiled. I visited a few days ago. There was visible visible litter on the marsh. Camper vans, some as big as buses, packed in as far as the eye could see. A van selling souvenirs and knickknacks, and an Uber Eats car blocking the road whilst dropping off pizzas. A parish councillor also sent me a recent photo of a large sofa on the road next to a van taking up a full parking space. I'm afraid this lovely area is now often treated and looks like a campsite. Everyone should be able to enjoy Keyhaven, but some have taken advantage of this unique natural area, and something needed to be done. I support these parking plans for Keyhaven. I think they are fair and resolve an obvious problem, and will enable everyone, walkers, fishermen, van owners, and maybe even the swans, to better enjoy this much loved spot. Thank you. And I wondered, Councillor Bowman, I know you're not hearing the Barton-on-Sea item today. I just wondered if I could just say one thing about that, if it would be possible, or is it not?
I'll consult the officers if that's all right.
That's all right.
Patrick, Suzanne, is that would that be possible for Councillor Carpenter to say, make a comment, or is it not appropriate at this time? Suzanne, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowerman. I don't think it's appropriate at this time. The item's not going to be considered, so I think it's just if we can limit it to the Keyhaven one, please. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you very much indeed. Thank
you, Fran. And may I just say thank you for looking after me when I came down to visit your area, and for showing me the Keyhaven site, and I could see for myself what the issues were. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Patrick, would you like to introduce this report now, please?
Of course. Thank you, Councillor Bowerman, and thank you, Councillor Carpenter, for your comments as well. So this is Keyhaven, the traffic order consultation responses, and this is about progress and implementing the traffic regulation order at Keyhaven for on-street chargeable parking on New Lane and Saltgrass Lane. So the paper sets out the consultation responses, and what you'll see within the paper that changes have been made accordingly as a result of the consultation responses that we received, and that includes things like introducing sections of free limited waiting and a reduction in the hourly tariff. And I think as we've just heard from Councillor Carpenter as well, the input of the scheme is really rooted in addressing the persistent issues that we've seen in things like overnight and antisocial parking, and I think we saw some examples and heard some examples of that from Councillor Carpenter. So I wasn't going to go through much more detail of the paper, Councillor Bowerman. I'm joined by officers if you've got any specific questions, but that was all I was planning to cover. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. May I ask if the members in attendance, so Councillor McAtter, Rob, if you would like to ask any questions on this?
I have one minor question, Patrick, and that's on page 30 about finance, which is very clearly laid out. So thank you for that, about the cost of the scheme and the anticipated revenues. My question was, is there any ongoing cost beyond year one after it's implemented to offset against those revenues?
Thank you. What I'll do, Councillor McAdam, I'll cover the overarching finances, and I might just hand over to Joe Folland, who is responsible for pulling this paper together. But we're always very clear with our parking and the way we put arrangements in that we have to be, and for legal reasons, we have to be very careful in how we set our business case up for parking and making sure that the money we recover is not seeking to make lots of revenue. It's about covering the cost of implementing the scheme and enforcement and so on. But Joe, is it possible, please, to give any specifics for Councillor McAtter, if you may, please?
Yes, certainly. Obviously, after the initial capital outlay, the machines will be an annual charge for the 4G and transactional costs, and then the Ringo relatively low costs in terms of transactions. So at that aside, and the enforcement of the restrictions is the annual going cost, which again are reported annually in our end of parking year reports. So those are the ongoing costs related to the scheme.
Thank you.
Councillor Wallace, would you like to make a comment or ask any questions?
Nothing from me on this one, thank you.
Okay, that's lovely, thank you. I would like to make a few comments on this one, particularly as I took a visit down there. So bear with me, because I'm going to give you the benefit of my thoughts, if I may. I've had many residents write to me, not just about this, but also the item 4 that was withdrawn. And I, having taken the visit to Keyhaven and seen for myself, just as Councillor Carpenter has said, you know, the impact on the local area. On-street parking in the area is currently unrestricted, and I think because of the number of, I call them RVs, but motorhomes and camper vans on the roadside, even on a weekday that we saw, I was immediately struck by the narrowness of the roads and the impact that these vehicles would have when parked on both sides of the road. And if there was an emergency situation, for example, how would the emergency services get through? I've also seen photographs of New Lane and Saltgrass Lane when they are full to capacity. In addition, as Councillor Carpenter has pointed out, there's no public facilities overnight for parking, and campers therefore do use the local land, and many residents have asked for these controls to be introduced. I think the scheme will bring order to this particular beautiful part of Hampshire, and I think it's very necessary to maintain full accessible travel at all times. And obviously with limited waiting and pay and display, I think the new proposals will manage this situation, and I am very pleased to be able to approve this today. So I'm very grateful to everybody who's written, and also for Councillor Carpenter this morning, and to the officers for the work that they've done, which I know is extensive. So thank you, Joe. So without further ado, I'd like to say I approve these proposals and the recommendations on paragraph 2 on page 29. Thank you. And that is the end of this decision day. Those are the 3 items that we are considering. And Caroline, when we're ready, if you'd like to close the webcast, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll
Thank
just
you
wait for confirmation. Sorry.
Yeah. No.